yeah, today is day 878 in this role. And I love my job. Before that, I worked at Redis, and I was a platform architect, and I was a happy customer. I was a happy Cloud Foundry customer, and it was awesome. Things were good. I worked at Garmin. Stuff, you can find me at the places. I know, I only have 25 minutes. Come on, let's go. 15 factors on Korifi. How many people have heard of 12 factors? 12 factors. Yes. How many people have heard of 15 factors? Some. Okay, we got to work. So, hi. Welcome. JW earlier said, how many of these apps are multi-foundation? All of them. Like, how cool is that? That right there, I was like, hey, my children, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but my children will never deploy active passive. This is a thing that I teach. I don't know what you do in your house. In my house, we don't do active passive. You might want to do active passive in my house. It's active, active, brush your teeth, active, active. Those are the rules, okay? We're cruising. 12 factors. We did that. We covered it. There was a book. We don't have time. The thing is, there's 15 factors. And in 25 minutes, that means I got to do like one factor. And I did a quick introduction. I'm going to try, guys. I'm going to try. But I apologize. The cool thing about the 15 factors, these 15 factors, is they are the 12 factors. They've been reordered. They've been reordered on purpose. All right? So I promise you we are going to get through 2. All right? The best ones are first. We're going to get through 2. I don't know if we'll make it to 15. So here they are. Take your pictures. And I'm going to apologize. All right? We'll try, but it's just not enough time. I'm sorry. I was trying. It's not enough time. One code base, one application. Code base does not mean repository. I think of big A apps and little A apps. Does that make sense? Big A apps, little A. I think of like an app portfolio as, hey, as a developer, I might have one product I'm taking to production. In my background, I've taken a few, but typically we're kind of not working on the same big A app all the time. Sometimes we're a part of a line of business. We're in a group. So we have to kind of like switch between big A apps. And those big A apps might have these are the little A apps, the microservices, if you will. Make sense? So this is the perspective that I'm coming from. Boom. API first. This makes sense. Contract-driven development is awesome. I borrowed from everybody else. Look, everything's a public API. So here, this is why we're at number 2. This is what we're trying to do. Are you following me? In order to get this from 60 minutes down to 25 minutes, I had to take a couple shortcuts. I was deleting code the whole time. Here we go. Dependency management. Apps need to bring their dependencies with them. Apps need to bring their dependencies. What does that mean? It means like, hey, we want to have it defined. We don't want to have to be adding things later, make it easy. One of the things that Spring Boot does, it has this concept of a release train. So I can say, hey, here's my parent POM. These dependencies that I'm adding to this app, they've all been tested and verified together. That's a big benefit. One of my favorite things around Spring Boot is I have a release train. I try to stay on that train. If I'm going outside of that release train, I'm like, do I really need to bring that in? So I like the benefit of having all those dependencies, not only part of my project, but then having them managed and making sure that they're compatible. Because I've been around. Like, I don't know how many people remember CVS. So, I never used it. You guys are old. But with Java early on, you had to like bring in your libraries, and we were pulling libraries from all over the place. We didn't have like a Maven Central. We didn't have those tools, and like managing dependencies and all the interaction. That was a problem. We're gonna get into the demo. I'm gonna apologize. We've already made it further than I thought we were going to. What is on the menu? This is one of the things that I like to do with Spring. This is a cool new feature. I'm going to bump this up. Hopefully everybody can see. I said Spring Project Catalog. Whoops, not lit. Spring Project Catalog List. This is my menu. So I can have multiple menus, and I'm trying to pull this together. If we're delivering a platform, how do we make sure that we're giving everybody the right path to production? We want to give them a menu, a supported menu. I was a developer once, and I saw all the cool new stuff that was happening on the internet and all the stuff. I could figure out a use case. I could figure out a reason why I want to take something to production, for sure. This way, I've also been kind of the platform person. And I wanted to say, here's the things that you can take. You see in the AWS menu of things, that's a decision, that's a problem. I heard the term yesterday, the paradox of a large menu, right? When there's so many things on the menu, it's hard to figure out, what do I want? Like at a restaurant, the fancy restaurants, you get this, or this. Make it easy, it's gonna be delicious. This is my menu. This is my project catalog. You wanna ride my path to production? This is what's on the menu, project list. These are not just the dependencies that I want you to bring to production, it's the dependencies and some reference implementations. So this is just using the Spring CLI. This is something you can do for your platform team. You add something new. You have an expert that knows all about chat and the chat interfaces for OpenAI. Don't just give your developers the tools. Hey, yeah, you can use OpenAPI now, or OpenAI now. We're giving them a reference implementation of here's how we take things to production. Maybe to help that code review process. Here's our examples. Here's what we do. So we saw what's on the menu. Let's do a demo. Let's build something. Hey, like, I got stuff on the menu. Spring Boot, new, CF day, web. Fantastic. I'm going. I like to have things running. I want things on my laptop. Boom. I grabbed something off the menu. I said, give me a new project. Here's my stuff. I've got a project. This looks like a Spring Boot application. This looks like something that I want to take to production, but it's not just the dependencies. It's not what I would get if I went to start.spring.io. It's also got code, and in this case, tests. So I can do something cool. Clean package. Let's run those tests. It's going, oh, I messed up. My niece is here, and one of the things that we do in my house, we don't do active passive, but also we like to be on the latest and greatest, and you might not have saw it, I saw it and it hurt. I'm on Spring Boot 3.2.4. That's not okay. So I gotta fix this. Apologies, I'm gonna run this little thing. Open rewrite is a thing. Our team, the Spring team, is doing a lot of work in making it, when we have a breaking change in our software, we wanna give you a recipe so that you can move forward with it. It makes sense. This is kind of the new way forward. So I have this Spring Cubed, which is just an alias to an open rewrite recipe that says, hey, go upgrade things. So now we should be able to do this. MENW. Cool. Now I'm on the latest and greatest, which means I'm more secure. I'm patched. I'm getting all the benefits of being on the latest and greatest. This is what we do. My son, my 10-year-old son, he's been around, and when I have a demo, I say, hey, we're gonna start with Java 8. He says, Java 8? We don't use Java 8 in our house. So first of all, active, okay, be on the latest and greatest. We do not use Java 8, all right? Java 21 is great. We have a lot of cool things. So I have tests out of the gate. I have a menu. This is supported. So the code that's in here, I can do this, right? What could possibly go wrong? The code that's in here gives me a reference implementation. Don't take the code straight to production. That's not why it's there. But it's there to show you an example of what a Spring Boot application looks like on my path to production. This is supported, so this is great. I'm going to leave that there. Does anybody have any questions about it? Spring Boot, it's pretty amazing. We're going to keep on going. Number 4, the 15 factors. These factors are not like what's in your app. It's really things that you want to consider. This is the way that you want to go. This is the cloud native approach. This is what we want to do. And if you've been using Cloud Foundry, you understand these things. But sometimes it's nice to revisit the assumptions and re-understand why we do these things. Design, build, release. Design, we already said API first, right? I showed you my catalog. I want to add something. So here's Spring. I can do this little, I'm just going to copy that. So this existing project, when I show the Spring project catalog thing, how many people thought of Maven archetypes? Just you in the back? Yeah, thank you. There was nobody in the back. We're going to do this. I'm going to go Spring Boot add REST docs. With the Maven archetypes, there's hundreds of them. A lot of organizations have their own internal archetypes. Hey, here's how we do things. but rarely is there code that goes along with it. Rarely is there those best practices. A lot of times, that's probably the number one question I get asked. How do we get our developers to follow the best practices? I'm showing you that right now. If you have best practices, you have these examples, especially if you're a platform engineer, you want your developers to kind of stay in the guardrails. Make it easy. This is what we're doing. But now, beyond the archetype idea of Maven, I can add a small piece to my application. So what I did, I took one of the things that was on the project list and I added to it. So let's see what happens here. I added REST docs. I have more examples. This is the big thing that you can't do with archetypes. What it did down here, I don't think you can see it. It says, hey, I'm going to pull in the dependencies that weren't there in order to deliver this REST docs feature, and it merged the code. Right? My code was in whatever COM example REST service, and the code for the REST docs example, it wasn't. So it merged it. It put it into the right package. This is pretty cool. And I could do that with anything on that catalog list. Project. Hello, I can't even see. So I can take any one of those projects and I can add it. This is really neat. So as a developer, I have these things and I can do small bits. Designing small features, one feature at a time. Cool. And I can build it. I kind of show that, Maven clean package. I can keep on going. So now I've got a new project. I'm going to go from here. /mvnw clean package. I'm still good. So I've got not just working code. I've got 2 features. And maybe you'll recognize this as package by feature instead of package by layer. I could also pull that out. If I'm using something like Spring Monolith, I can have those rules in place and make it really easy to take this monolith and decompose it into microservices. But for right now, we're in a good spot. All my tests are passing. This is wonderful. And with that, I also now have documentation. I've generated snippets. So my application is running locally, and I've deployed documentation. Let's take a look. Maybe we'll come back to that. I only have 25 minutes. There's no way I'm going to get this done. There's no way. But we're released. This is another cool thing. Part of the rules. We all have a release process. I have one that I built in. I said on my project catalog, I said, this is the way I want you to release code. I added some extensions here. This JGitver, it's out of date. It's old. So it's got a lot of open issues on it and PRs against it, but I still love it. I'm still using it. And what I have to do here is when I built, I think I have this right here. It says, hey, my application, it's not a repository. It's not, you're not doing anything. But it gets its version from the tag. This is the process. On my path of production, I'm telling you how you're going to version your code. It's not with a version number in your POM file. I'm going to say git add, git commit. I'm running out of time. And git, that's all I need to do. Oh, no, I'm going to git tag the 0.0.1. Oh, I have to get init. Come on, fellas. Git add. Here we go. And then tag it. Now, when I do my build, now it's going to have the right tag. It'll be version 0.0.1. So I don't have that mess of Maven releases or anything. My version matches my tag, easy for your audit process, ties right into all the other security and audit things we talked about, like SBOMs, right? It's there. It's nice. So now I can see, hey, I've got a 0.0.1. Fantastic. But this is my ride. This is how I release things. This is one of those things. We want it unique, identifiable, and auditable. I've done that. And I can run it locally, Spring Boot run. In that inner loop cycle, when I'm working on a new application, this is the experience. This is why I love Spring. It's fast. I can make my changes. I can add features. We're in great shape. I can go make sure that it runs. It started up in 0.671 seconds. I can say, hey, yeah, localhost 8080. Hello. Boom. Right? It works. My test passed, so of course it's going to work. I'll stop. And let's keep going. 5, we are 33% done. There's no way I'm going to make this. Configuration, credentials, and code. Treat credentials, code, and configuration as volatile substances that will explode if they're combined. That's clear, right? Code, understand code. That's what I was showing you. We want our config to come from our environment. That makes sense. Just keep them separate. It works. And hey, yeah, Vault and Credit, better together. I deleted a bunch of slides after this, and I just replaced it with that. This makes sense. Logs, and metrics, and tracing. I don't remember how it was said earlier, Matthew, but we're moving forward. We want this. And with Korifi, I want that same thing. I want all the things that I get in production that I expect from production, I want them locally. So one of the other steps that I took was I said, hey, give me Grafana. I want my Grafana locally as a developer. And I have a really good example of this. So this is running on my Korifi. I have my Loki and my Grafana, et cetera. Those things that I want, that you get in production, you want them locally. And as a platform engineer, I'm torn here. I don't know what it looks like in the best way. But if I say, hey, in production, your logs are at this URL and your metrics are here. You have logs, metrics, and traces. You have all these things. If I say that this is what you get, wouldn't it be nice if I could give you a similar experience on your laptop so that you could, when you're onboarding, you're like, yeah, you're running the cloud for me. I don't care how, right? I still want to have that experience. And I've been through the gamut, starting, does anybody remember Lattice? Lattice, right? Have you tried running it? This is the other thing. I had another laptop over there in case it didn't work, but I want to say that this is running on a 16 gigabyte laptop. Is that good? Is that bad? I figured that's kind of where things are right now. Like the $1,000 laptop, 16 gigs, right? It was, yeah, like with Lattice, were you able to do this? Even with PCF Dev and CF Dev, like all of those variations, the thing that I ran into. If I was trying to get you to come and use my platform, you know how many times can I run it? Give it to me. Cloud Foundry sounds great. Can I run it on my laptop? I had a 64 gig, what is the brand? But yeah, I tried. I tried to make it work. It didn't. But I tried. I wanted that. And I remember the day that I heard about, actually, it wasn't the day that I heard about it. It was, I saw Ram do a demo of Korifi. And I was like, what? Did he just CF push to his laptop in like seconds? Some developers, they don't know how good they've got it. It's too easy for them. They don't know how hard it was in the past. Disposability. Like this is another one of the factors. This is what we want. We just want start my apps, bring them down, start them up. This is what we expect. We used to say, yeah, it's going to run on the mainframe and that'll be fine. Right? But now we have different vectors that we need to take into consideration. So we do things like this, right? We can go and see that working. I had stuff already deployed. So now, hey, they're coming up. Here, hello world. Fantastic. This is good. It's deployed. It's scaled, but then I can do the same thing. And it's not going to break anything. It's okay. We want to be able to throw things away. Backing services. We want to have these services. We want to be able to connect to them easily, consistently, repeatedly. Yeah. Oh, I pushed Loki. I pushed all the things, right? So here, as a developer, I want to have some things running. Korifi is kind of cool and unique because I can have my CF push experience, but I can also have Kubernetes. It's running on Kubernetes for all the other things, right? All the things that don't have a CF push. I can have all of the Kubernetes. I can have the service mesh connected to all of the other things. I can have it on my laptop. Do you feel that? Like, that's an amazing thing that we can have this experience. And if I'm bouncing between these different big A apps, these different parts of the portfolio, lines of business, I can have them all run. I have my spaces and my orgs. But I can just have it running. That's pretty slick. So one of the other pieces here, I think I can jump in. One of the things that we've got, and I talked about it earlier, is the native images. Have you guys seen these native images with Spring GraalVM? I don't need to go over that, right? I can deliver these binaries, static link binaries. On Cloud Foundry, I can use the binary build pack, or I can use those images, the OCI images that I get from my build packs. It's slick. It saves infrastructure. And I always tell people, I'm like, hey, you want to save millions of dollars? Right? What's the most expensive thing to run in the cloud? It's your memory, right? And for apps that you're scaling, that startup time, right? The queues, right? When you say that, hey, Thundering Herd, how long does it take to start up those apps, right? In order to keep up with the demand, and then scaling down. These are things that we have to take into consideration these days. These kids, they don't know how good they've got it. So, yep, back in my day. In the cloud, there's no file system, right? These are just considerations. Again, it's not like, hey, there's no file system. It's just that for a 15-factor app, these are the things that we're thinking about. This is what I want. Applications, I'm going to skip this stuff. Yeah, we just want to be able to do this consistent, repeatedly. Environment parity. Whoa. Cloud Foundry sounds great. I would love to run that on my laptop. Me too. It could be in the cloud, right? I heard that Korifi is being taken to production, right? That's pretty cool. And I had this conversation not too long ago where the Spring developer says, we're going to Kubernetes, but I don't want to deal with the YAML. And you can imagine it. How many people have not done a CF push? Is there anybody in the room that's not done a CF push? We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But you know the joy when it's a Spring Boot developer and no YAML, and I just say, hey, CF push. After he's already complained, right? If you start with Kubernetes and the YAML, and then you see CF push, it's even better. It's even better. So it works on my. I already showed you the CF apps. I get excited about this stuff. The background stuff, I can go and do a Spring Boot new batch, and I can run in the background. I might have already done it. It's already there, I think. Yeah, I got a batch. And I did it this way. I just, hey, just don't start it, and I can go run it and start it. But yeah, these one-off tasks, you want to make sure, I guess, maybe you don't know. In Spring world, batch is like one of the most used patterns for going to production. I didn't realize. There was years, and it's really because of James. He had this talk about moving from batch to streaming and streaming data, and everything was going to be streaming. That is great. And I was in it. I was like, yeah, that makes absolute sense. Why are we doing batch? But then I thought about those batch workloads, those things that are doing the streaming process, billions of rows of data that are just staying up all the time. I also don't have cloud money. I've got Raspberry Pi money. So to have things just running all the time and running up a bill, even though, yeah, it's real time now, to have these tasks for things that, hey, I didn't need it real time. I can run billions of rows of data. I can do it once, and then I can have that resource back. That's the trade-off. That's what I didn't see. There's good use cases for both. I still love my streaming data, but I'm broke, so I'm going to do batch. Let's keep going. I can do these things. I'm feeling pretty good. Port binding, we can abide container-determined ports. We're doing this amazing stuff. Yeah, just get out of the mess. If I'm running a bunch of applications locally, especially if I've got different big A apps from different teams, I'm doing kind of a port dance. Oh, 8080, and which one's getting forwarded to, and how many Nginx reverse proxies do I need on my application or on my laptop? I've been there. This seems like it's default, but we got to remind ourselves what it looked like before we had CF push. And the other thing is, if you don't have CF push and you don't have Kubernetes, like, what are you doing on your laptop? And there's still a lot of apps that are going to production today still on VMs. Okay, that's still, I saw something else recently. That is still kind of the default. We're working on it, but as a team, we can help, right? We're going to trend in the right direction. We're going to get everybody to figure this out. stateless process, share nothing pattern, data caching. I still hear sticky session being used. I still hear problems. I'm a big fan of Redis. I worked at Redis for a little bit. Like, we can even handle our session, right? Even our session shouldn't be in that app instance. We have ways around it. Shared nothing. Concurrency, we're going to scale out. I already showed. That's good. The native part of Spring Boot allows me to stand up and bring it back down quickly. Because in the cloud, we pay per millisecond. Telemetry, this is it. Telemetry, telemetry, telemetry. When I was listening to Sergey, I was thinking, where does all the metrics go? Where does the logs go? This is another pattern. And these are ordered in terms of kind of what comes first. It's not about importance. It's about what are the things that you tackle in that order, and where do you want to start? Kind of make sure you get those in place before you do the next one. So 1 before 2, 2 before 3, and we'll go that way. It doesn't mean really order of importance. It just means this is kind of a good way to think about it logically. Telemetry. Like, once you get to that multi-cloud story, once you get your apps running everywhere, how do you know? If I'm an app developer, I said, hey, yeah, run in the cloud for me, I don't care how. I immediately want to know, where's my logs, metrics, and tracing? I want to get all that data back wherever it's running. How do I do that? What does that pattern look like? It might look different in your house than it does in my house. We brush our teeth, right? But telemetry, it's got to be there. And then again, authentication and authorization. We want to have that security being taken care of. And again, it's not an order of importance thing, but it has to be there. And typically, this is the one, after we've figured all the other things out, this is what we're adding at the end, is that authentication. The main thing here is, I'm just really excited, and I've been excited about this for a while, that I have CF Push on my laptop. The two, Spring and Cloud Foundry, kind of feel like peanut butter and jelly for me, because it was just a part of my career, right? Is that I can have these applications running locally, and I can do stuff. And because it's 2024, and have you heard about AI? Did you think you were going to get out of the day without some AI? No, we're going to do a little bit more. So I'm going to jump over here. I don't have it over there. Let's find it. I'm going to go CD fun. I don't work anymore. All of my stuff is in fun. We're going to go to this AI thing, and let's jump in. Because I made it a little special. I said, hey, what Spring AI does, it's kind of like Spring Data. I can switch between the LLMs easily. Spring provides the abstractions. So in this case, we're going to stand up a Spring Boot application, and I'm asking the LLM, tell me a story about Cloud Foundry in the style of Dr. Seuss. Woo-hoo. Simple. I could have done Spring Boot, add this to my other application, but we're going to try it this way. And it's deployed, right? CF apps. It is. Let's go see. Let's see. I mean, I'm going to stick this landing, I hope. LLM, AI in the cloud, please tell me, in a world of tech where the code was a breeze, there lived a platform named Cloud Foundry. Oh, please. It soared through the clouds with apps in its hand, making deployment easy across the land. With containers and scaling, it never did tire, making developers' lives so much higher. No more worrying about servers or space. Cloud Foundry handles it all with grace. It spun up apps with a click and a clack and managed them all with no need for a hack. The developers rejoiced. Their work was so neat. Thanks to Cloud Foundry, life was complete. So if you're a coder feeling lost in the mist, just remember Cloud Foundry. It can't be missed. With its magic powers and platform so grand, your apps will soar high across the land. So raise a glass to Cloud Foundry, so true, for making developers' dreams come true. In a world of tech where the code is a breeze, Cloud Foundry reigns supreme. Oh, please. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you call sticking the landing. Sticking the landing on the demo.